Hello again. So it seems like my sound wasn't necessarily the best. Still, I'm going to make sure that it works. And welcome everybody. I can see that Monique is here. We've got Matthias, Theodore. Hi guys, nice to have you. Thank you for joining in. Also, we've got the time proper to add a vertisim, and it seems like you guys are excited about Vantage. As Theodore said that many times during the Chaos Days, let's take advantage of the Vantage. So he was quoting Tom from Corona, but that was one of those things that he was like, let's take advantage of the Vantage. And it was quite funny for me. So today we're obviously going to be doing just that, talking about Vantage and everything that looks good in it. It's been a while. It's been a while indeed, but I can see you posting stuff on Chaos Campus from time to time. By the way, everybody, those of you that are currently watching us on YouTube, this is a more or less sponsored stream by Chaos. Well, it is, but we are free to go over any topic we want as long as it's going to be related to Chaos, which is quite fun. And quite recently, I was testing Vantage, and I finally got to kind of understand how it works. I know its downsides and well, also some of the good stuff. So because currently my all-time favorite software, Corona, is progressively working towards integrating with Vantage, that is why we're going to be doing this very thing. From Corona to Vantage, and can we do the opposite from Vantage to Corona? Well, that thing I'm going to answer with nope, but we're slowly getting there. So the scene that we're going to be working with is one of the scenes that I did for a designer in Warsaw. This is Złota 44, and it's one of those big fancy buildings. It's a showroom type of situation, but I found out that there's a perfect scene to really go over features in this software to show you some strong and weak sides of Vantage, and I definitely want to go ahead and pretty much bring you to the point. Now, can you explain what Vantage is? Vantage, well, let's just turn it on. So Vantage exactly is a type of software that a lot of you could compare to Lumion, 5D render, Twinmotion even, but it has its own unique twist on everything. And this is a very powerful tool, if you would ask me. Not only it has slightly better quality in some regards, slightly better quality, for example, than Unreal Engine in some regards. Not all of them, because, for example, I tested it, and Vantage currently is slightly slower than Unreal, but if we set up one-to-one quality, they're almost equal. So why do I talk about one-to-one quality? Because first of all, Vantage, from my perspective, has better displacement. Also, it has better refractions. So those are very demanding and slow processes for 3D renders. So it's definitely going to be pretty much something that you have to keep in mind. Quality costs time. So Vantage is a GPU powered or accelerated software from Chaos, and by default you're going to get a couple of cool scenes to try out, which we can now try downloading, because I haven't even tested them. And I think that if we're going to be realistic about using it, let's just do it as any user would click on it. I started watching old live sessions to learn 3ds Max. Thanks, Zoho. I really appreciate that. Hello, Ahmad. So I see that we have not only our former students, but also some of our current students joining in, and I'm super excited about that. So thank you. So Ashaf is here. Now we've got Wak Okay, Waktang. And now, hello, and it's nice to have you as well. Okay, so the scene is downloading. Now we've got 70%. I don't think anything exciting is happening on the screen yet. So meanwhile, we're going to examine the scene that I have built in 3ds Max. It's a very simple, yet I would say a quite good looking scene. The thing is that I'm using quite a lot of small tricks that later in 3ds Max, in Vantage would be frowned upon because software doesn't like some of the tricks that I used. One of the things that I noticed is they do not yet treat or tolerate the 3-planar map too well. So just like in any type of software, any software of this type, you're definitely going to have to be prepared for one very important thing, and that is your materials will need to, or objects will need to be mapped, because 3-planar mapping, although it does appear to work really nicely in 3ds Max, as you can see right now, there's a slight chance and possibility that you're not going to get the one-to-one result there. Hello from Georgia, and nice, thank you, and hello from Poland now. So I'm in Poland currently. Now, let's see, hide selection. The next thing that I noticed that Vantage doesn't necessarily like is reflections and noise in your bump. So that's going to be something that you're going to also have to take into account. But there are no weird elements that would be, let's say, out of the ordinary. We've got pretty run-of-the-mill scene for just a small apartment. There's supposed to be a bathroom and a bedroom. So this is one of those, you know, luxurious apartments that are very tiny and super expensive. But we also have a couple of nice shots, quite a lot of detail built, and well, this scene is handmade by me, so I guess we can talk about it and use it as much as we want. So now, since this file is downloaded, let's just open up the default scene from SketchUp. It would appear. So Vantage has a very cool thing in it. It works with plenty of programs. What I noticed, and is a problem for me, is that a lot of times when you open it up, it's going to pretty much just hide the top toolbar. Although it appears that the software is full screen, it's not. So this is something that we should be addressing at the very first moment. Also, it's quite fast, and GPU rendering is going to be having a lot of strain on my computer. As you know, streaming live is going to be definitely using a lot of GPU. So please bear with me if we're going to be extra laggy or it seems like Vantage is a little bit slower. That's my computer just streaming, rendering, opening 3ds Max, Vantage, and streaming to Facebook, YouTube, having a couple of extra software open. So this is definitely not the software issue. It's definitely my computer that's a bottleneck. I'm using Vantage in the office. Love it. Philippa, nice to hear that. And how do you like, what are your favorite features in it? Can Vantage also be used in a web browser? In a sense, it can, because right now, this is something that the software developers are working on, and you will be able to literally stream the software to your browser. This is a I hope that I'm not breaking the NDA, but this is a upcoming feature to Vantage, and I really hope that I didn't mess up this, but you will be able to use it that way. Sir, your RTX, yeah, it's RTX 2070, so it's definitely not the strongest. Also, as I was saying, the problem that I have with Vantage from time to time is that it opens in this odd way. So if it happens to you and you cannot grab the X or any part of it, press left Alt and space after clicking on the Chaos Vantage. This way, you're this way, you're going to have this. Oh, it's actually on the other screen. You're going to see this. Wait a second. I'm going to show it to you. Actually, you're going to see this small thingy pop up, and you're going to be either able to maximize, move, or minimize your software. So this is going to be a cool thing. So left alt and a space to make sure that you can actually do something with your software, maximize it, and look at that, we now have everything back. And as you can see, Vantage is actually extremely responsive. It's fast, it quickly reacts to everything I do, and the quality that it delivers is, I would say, comparable to early versions of, for example, Corona or older V-Ray. I would say that it looks lovely for me and for a lot of my clients. Back in the days, this would be enough. This would be more than enough, especially for some kind of interior bureaus that will need to see some pretty pictures fast. This is beautiful and I really love it. But just looking at the scene and how the software works, I think now this use case of opening a scene that they pre-prepared is going to be almost like cheating. So let's make sure to use our own scene and start going through the UI there so we can see some of the stronger and weaker parts. There are some delays of picture and sound already, just so you know. So I'm going to have to definitely update my computer. I'm getting a new RTX. It's coming in next week or in 2 weeks. So maybe I'm going to restream this if it's really bad. Now, Sir RTX, now, does Vantage work with V-Ray textures or is it just Corona? Yes, it's going to have a full live link with 3ds Max and Corona, and it's going to work with both the V-Ray textures and actually to the big thing that I would say is in the favor of V-Ray for once is that Vantage is even better integrated with V-Ray than it is with Corona. Okay, but let's talk about our settings, our stuff, and what exactly we're doing. So I want to render this specific scene in Vantage. So let's say that you've set up your scene in Corona and you're very happy with it. Let's first do a quick render so we can do some kind of comparison, and it's going to be just easier. What's your new GPU? I'm planning on upgrading as well. So I'm going to type it in, is 3080 Ti RTX Super something. I honestly don't remember. So you can see that it's very bare bones right now. Comparing to the thumbnail, I changed it a little bit because I've updated it. This scene was done in Corona 7, and since then we updated the systems a lot. That is why, especially for the tone mapping, it looks a little bit different. I can open the older version if you'd like to have that comparison, but it's just not going to be valid. Please notice the bumps on the ceiling, and pretty much we can now add some kind of LUT, so it's going to be just warmer and a little bit more classy. So contrast goes up, and now we're good to go. So now we know what we're comparing to, right? So let's go to Performance tab, and here let's see what exactly we're using. So we're pretty much using just regular NVIDIA denoising, which is also part of Vantage. And here we've got the most interesting button ever, Export Scene or Render in Vantage. Those are currently doing exactly the same thing because they're exporting the scene. One is going to be exporting it into, let's say, temporary cache. This is going to be exporting your scene into more of a planned space. So scene Vantage, okay, and now you can name it as any way you like, but the trick is that we do not export it as CDO, we export it as a Vantage to take advantage. So now we've got it, and all we need to do is wait a couple of seconds. It doesn't take long to get... Hello, Łukasz, nice to have you. How are you? Now, we're going to be seeing a lot of these, and those are potentially going to be solved or let's say resolved later on, but some of them are just my bad settings. So current value 1.1 parameter in pivot RGB in map data is not supported. The map will be rendered as if the parameter was 1. So that's actually something that I don't necessarily even understand what's going on, but we can probably get to this map and test it. There are a couple of those things that you're going to always see. One thing that I really don't like is the parameter brightness of map color correction produces different results from the native 3ds Max implementation. That's something that I don't like because it changes the way the material is going to look like, but I believe that once we have the live link, this is going to be more or less a non-issue. So now we've got our scene. So this is how it looks like. So it's going to be automatically in a V-Ray scene export, but also it has the export to Vantage file, which pretty much is the executive for Vantage itself. So that is another proof that Vantage currently is a little bit better integrated with V-Ray than Corona, but Corona is going to come to its senses at some point. Now, let's go over the first impressions and what you're going to see. Well, the scene looks way off. It has a couple of elements that I don't necessarily like, and we have to address that. So first thing we're going to need to do is check the exposure mode. Now, while for some reason I thought that we're going to get the one-to-one transition of our video frame buffer settings, it's not exactly that, because none of those settings matter for Vantage. Well, I don't hate that, it's just that you have to set it up again. So we need to go for physical or exposure, so we're just going to go for value, and we can just lower or heighten the value. I don't know why it's inverted, but it's just some sort of creative maneuver they made, and for me this value option looks weird, but I'm going to be open-minded. By default, you're going to have depth of field on if your current camera that you are exporting with is going to also have it. So keep that in mind, that you're going to be able to set up everything about your depth of field in this tab. But and this also is the tab where you set your camera settings, because one huge problem that I see with Vantage is that this is your work viewport. There are no quads, you cannot just look at the top view. So what you see here is what you get, and that's on one side bad, but then again it's not the worst. Now this tab is going to be very helpful. We're going to go to the camera lister a little bit later, but now we're going to be talking about correction tab. Here this is again going to be the actual exposure settings. So we're just going to be setting this a little bit more now, and that's why it's better to prepare the scene for it in V-Ray. Yes, at the moment it is, but currently what's happening in Corona, they're working very hard on applying the live link for Vantage and Corona, so they will be better integrated. This is just the first step into this realm of GPU rendering for Corona, so they just have to figure out stuff out. Now, highlight burn is one of those things that you really want to play with, because this is pretty much the highlight compression that we know from Corona, and I love it because it looks really it helps your scene a lot. Contrast is going to be slightly helpful, but honestly I wouldn't be using this contrast, as we're going to have the filmic tone mapping, which is the go-to tool. We've got the AMPS, which is just gamma, so I guess it's lame, but we also have a little bit of stronger settings, and that's where those options actually shine, and we can really set up our scene quite a lot. So it's definitely going to take a bit of back and forth here, so be prepared to just play around with it. Now, LUTs, from as far as I know, you can load your own, and this is not going to be a problem. You just need to click here, and you can actually go to the Corona folder and grab those if you want. But this is not going to be necessary at the moment, because those LUTs that they have in are you using Vantage? So in Vantage are kind of cool. So I like this one because it's strong and contrasting. So we're obviously going to be lowering that and giving our scene a little bit lower gamma, for example. And it looks really crisp. It looks very video-like, let's say movie-like even. But for now, I think we're going to just change it to a filmy cube or just warm tones. So a little bit stronger warm tones, and now we can play with slightly higher angle, and the white point is also going to be something that I want to adjust. So this is going to give us a stronger glare in the window. So now I think that we're pretty much ready to move on to the bloom. Bloom here is super cool. So I like to add a lot of it, but I also change the threshold a little bit, and the spread goes out. So this is going to look cool as heck if you're going to be doing some zoom ins, and the spread is fantastic. It reacts super fast, so it's just fantastic. Hue and saturation, I don't think that this is going to be very helpful, but I guess it's better to have those options than not. Color balance is a typical setup, just like in Photoshop. You've got the red, cyan, and blue. So it's pretty much you know, it's just that. It's you can make your own LUTs if you want to very quickly. So that's actually very cool. Next, we've got white balance. Nothing special here. I typically just play with it, so my scenes are a little bit warmer. So that's it. And something that I think that most of the software should have, but for some reason it doesn't: chromatic aberration. This is a trick that I love using, but I'm going to give you a nice tip on how to use it. You use it, but you make sure that the amount you're going to be using is at minimum. So the idea is that you want to have some of it, but the less the merrier. That's pretty much the whole idea. Sure, Vantage having a live link to V-Ray is more or less GPU interactive render, which is simply amazing. Corona will have this at some point too, but for now, this is what we have. Yes, and Theodore, this opens up a very important problem or a question, because now this scene as it's rendering fast, it looks nice, but it has one big problem, because the live link isn't yet implemented. So whatever I do here is not going to have any impact on the scene unless I export it again. So it's a little bit of a, well, difficult situation, but it's not just the worst. So let's go higher with exposure. Now, we can actually start playing around with Vantage, because we pretty much went through most of the difficulties that you're going to be facing in this software. This was the hard part, right? So now the easy and cool part is that you've got all the light listers, you've got object listers, so you're going to be able to, as long as you're going to keep your scenes tidy, you're going to be able to get all of that. I hope that at some point we're going to get groups and layers in here, because at the moment it's not exactly what I would be expecting. So getting layers is going to be a cool thing at some point. We also have materials, and this is the biggest downside at the moment, but at the same time, live link is coming. So you can see the materials, but you cannot do anything with them. It's just, yeah, there's a material, hey, and that's it. You've got thousands of materials from thousands of objects, but you cannot do nothing. You can do you cannot do anything with any of them because there's no material editor in the software, which kind of sucks, but it's not the type of software, or this is not the type of software that should have it, because this is a quick render engine for you to use with other software. So LiveLink is going to be the jam that you want to play. So once we have our Slate Material Editor, LiveLink, and everything set up, this is pretty much going to be your Vantage, is going to be your extremely complicated, or no, extremely advanced video frame buffer. So that's going to be super powerful. But also, we can actually create objects in here, and it's not impossible to add objects. So one of the quickest and easiest ways of taking advantage of the Vantage is actually using the Chaos Cosmos browser. So that's going to be cool, because not only you're going to get the same materials and objects in your scene, and you're going to be able to just download it from your library and just apply it to your objects. The minus side is that you absolutely must have the proper mapping. In my case, as I mentioned earlier, I was using 3D Planner mapping at this in this material, and because of that, I wasn't using any sort of regular mapping, or I just used the real-world map scaling, and it seems to not necessarily translate very well. So it's definitely going to be one of those things that you have to keep in mind, that this is probably going to be better with the next versions. It's just that, okay. There's another thing that you're probably going to like a lot, is that in the Cosmos browser, if we actually make it a little bit bigger, if we could please, we're going to see that a lot of the items that are added are not only going to be interactive, or mostly it's going to be the veggies, so vegetation. We've got trees, and whenever we've got this is going to be animated in Vantage. So more life in your scenes is now possible. Those are only going to be animated in Vantage. That was a decision on their side to make them exclusive for this type of software. So it's going to be both for Enscape and for Vantage. But possibly for future software as well. Wink, wink. So Mike, why is so expensive than V-Ray? So we need to buy V-Ray as well, and Vantage too. So to be honest, you have to keep in mind that although it seems that the software might be expensive, a typical animation is worth 5 times more than a typical render. So because of that, I doubt that your Vantage is going to have a big strain on your budget if you're going to actually have a client for an animation. So I would say that they're reasonably priced, but at the same time, I get the grievances, because I also don't like paying for stuff. Imagine that when I was creating the previous webinar about a new version of Corona, I had to buy Vantage myself, and I was like 10 times thinking to do it. Do I need it? Do I want to? Do I really want to show that feature? And I understand that. So the pricing is something that they arbitrarily decided upon, and it's very close to other software that they use. And to be perfectly honest, I think that with the quality and speed that it gives you, and creative freedom that it's going to also come with, it's actually not that expensive. I mean, it's not free, so that's definitely going to be something that we have to take into account, but it's good. So what I like the most in this software is that you literally have to, or can, prepare different scene scenarios. So you're going to be able to create sub scenes or subsets for a different environment, lighting, objects in your scene, materials in your scene, and post state, which is pretty much something I don't necessarily even understand. But we've got original scene or the new version. So this is going to be something that you can save for all the settings. And that also translates to cameras, because cameras, unlike in 3ds Max, are created as views. So you can have this view here, and now this is going to be our current view. So this is one of those things that you're definitely going to probably dislike at some point, is that, well, clipping through the walls is a huge issue, and it's not always going to be that easy to navigate, especially if you're going to get into something like a wall. And for some reason, and now I'm getting into all of the walls possible. Oh, I get what's happening. So because my computer is lagging, I'm getting an extra boost in movement after I do the movement itself. So that is why it's getting that way. But look at the quality. Look at the quality of the render. I honestly think that it's mesmerizing. It's really great. I wish there would be more tools for the camera itself, because for example, just automatic vertical tilt doesn't necessarily give me the option to perfectly set up my camera. I mean, you can set it up in field of view, exposure control, and focus distance, but what I like to have is the ability to not only and give myself the exact settings for the camera at the exact angle, but also exact position in the scene. Would you believe I still have projects in Mental Ray? I do believe it. Just recently, one of my students complained to me that we do not teach Mental Ray at all. And I was like, dude, that was discontinued like 10,000 years ago. And it actually happens. So, now, Mike, why is it so expensive, would you believe? Can't you turn on backface culling? I mean, we can, but it's not going to be as good as in other software, because you're going to have to set it up for each and every camera angle. So it's not exactly the simplest thing to do. So definitely this is a downside for smaller apartments and places, but it's actually very cool to use because you pretty much have everything done. And well, as I was saying, we've got the carpets, right? So I mean carpets, we've got our materials, we've got our objects. So changing materials and downloading assets to from your library and adding it to your scene is just a piece of cake. The minus side is that I still am figuring out how that mapping is really done for some of the objects, but it looks quite good. So as you can see, this one is definitely set up to my object is set up to real world scale. So the scale of the carpet is really wrong in here. So I'm going to have to go back to 3ds Max and fix it in order to have the right settings. But it's just something that you have to understand that, your software, this software is going to have its rules, and apparently it doesn't necessarily like the real world scaling. So we're going to have to close the scene and reopen it later. But the speed at which we're getting the reaction from the software is really amazing. And even with an older GPU, getting this type of effect is really cool. And if you're going to get lost, you can always go back to all of your cameras. And that is also what I like about the Vantage, because it allows you to see all the details of your objects without a lot of hassle. Now we've got our depth of field, so let's turn it on. Now with just one click, I'm going to be setting up the focus at this point, and now I can just set up this as a camera, and we've got a nice transition from camera A to camera B. And that's going to allow us to create a very quick animation. So that's actually super cool. And I absolutely love this type of setups. So it's just one click solution, and we've got those animations. right? So what about the animations and what can we do? So we've got the grid overlay for better composing, but well, it's not very useful if you're not going to be able to have precision with your camera, or at least I haven't found the right tools. You can move and rotate objects, but that's not exactly what I would like to see. Plus those elements are kind of clunky, so that's definitely something to think about, because this UI is not the most perfect. Although I'm not here to review it exactly, I'm just playing around with the software and I am really loving it. I really am. And now let's see, if we've got a lot of our objects, let's see what we can do further. So possibly I need to reposition my camera because that's definitely going to be problematic. Yeah, streaming, it doesn't really help at all with this process. So I'm getting way out of position with my camera. So let's go back to the main one because that's definitely easier for me. Okay, so the next thing is that we've got the ability to create new chaos scatters, and this is going to work exactly as it did in Corona. So it's just going to be the exact scatter that you know from Corona. It has all of the settings. It's just the same thing. So honestly, I love it because you can distribute on target objects. So we're going to be able to add the object. This is going to be our carpet, and instanced objects is just, well, another picker. So let's just take a book from this shelf. So we're just going to try it out, and it instantly does it, and it does it in this very weird, realistic way. I love how intuitive and responsive it is. It's obviously looking bad because I'm scattering books on without pivot on a carpet, but the reaction and the speed, that's amazing, and I really love it. So that's something that I am super fond of, and I love it. This is super cool. We also have the scatters that, fur objects, which is literally something that Corona should have by now. And voila, we just have it. And this is very close to what V-Ray fur is. And well, honestly, it's just exactly what we should have in Corona. So I hope that the translation is going to work both ways. Just, we got it. It works so good. And if you want to add fur to your sofa, done. You just need to wait for it to render for a couple of extra seconds. But it's fuzzy now. Look at that. It's just fabulous. I love it. Depth of field in Vantage is pure joy. It is. It slows down your rendering by a little bit, obviously, because it's an additional effect. But if we wait a couple of seconds, even my pseudo fur that I just created is going to look good. The thing is that we've got all of those variations for the length, the thickness, gravity. Also, we've got the hair distribution, knots, just like in 3ds Max, the hair and fur modifier, but I kind of like it more. So as for the material, you can see that the object is taking the color of the material that you've added to your object before. So if, for example, your object is going to have a nice fuzzy texture on it, and you then add the fuzzy option, it just becomes even better. So it's good. So the V-Ray fur is good. Yes, it is. It's very helpful. It's fast and just works. I am surprised with it. So decals, that's not very exciting. I mean, it is, but decals are just, you know, quite easy to add. You can use whatever, and you select material that you want to work with. You select the decal and you then print it. So you have to have those decals pre-prepared for your journey, because if you want to add those decals the right way, you're going to have to take into account that it's going to by default take the textures, size, and well, it works. What else do you want? It's just working, so it's fantastic. We've got a lot of lights, which are very, very cool. Again, a thing that I would love to see more of is the ease of use like this in other software, because that's just phenomenal. Now we can just move the light to the right position, and it's thanks to the fact that it starts here, it's going to create this spotlight here. Just beautiful. What else do you want? This is amazing. We can just set it up at the right angle, and we're going to suddenly have a very nice spotlight on our sofa. But what's going on? So the thing is that it's actually physically accurate, because what you've noticed is that we're getting the shadow from the lamp. So this is just cool because now it's intersecting with the lamp and it actually casts the shadow accordingly. So it's amazing. Other software that is similar to Vantage requires some additional tricks to get this type of shadows. So that's super cool, especially for inside lights. So that's definitely cool. Next is just adding the cameras and your scene presets. So we basically just went over the full software, and now we can just play around and have a little bit of fun and move like in video games. So looking at this, you probably can see that the scene, I don't know if you have this feeling, but I do. It at moments looks absolutely realistic. I mean, it's perfect. I love it. It's the type of software I'm going to be using more of because it's fast, it's easy, the quality is just perfect, and well, I'm not switching from Corona because Corona definitely has a higher fidelity, and to be perfectly honest, you won't get as fast previews with Corona as you get with Vantage, but comparing the prices of GPUs to the CPUs, I would say that they're very comparable. But the thing is that you can install 2 GPUs and you cannot install 2 processors. So you're going to have to take some L's there, because if you're going to be setting up for a CPU, for example, you're going to have to buy a new CPU each time and new motherboard, possibly new power source for your computer, also new RAM if you want to really upgrade. And if you want to upgrade a GPU, it's just swap it. Look at that. Phenomenal. But if you're going to compare the quality, very clear quality and very close quality to one another, it's just going to be almost the same, dollar for dollar, pound for pound, złotówka for złotówka, but it's really something that I love. I fell in love with Vantage. I'm going to be testing it a lot. I did some tests with animations, so let's set up a typical animation for Vantage, which is, again, I wish that the live link would allow me to also translate my own cameras into the Vantage, but all you need to do is, first of all, set up your first shot, then what it translates to. So what it translates to is this. And now we've got the transition, so you can change the transition or type of animation, so it's linear for me. And now we're going to be able to play it, and it just plays from one angle to another. I know it's a very short animation, so we can change the duration of it. So change set duration, and we're going to be able to set it to, let's say, 3 seconds. Now, okay, and it's going to play for a little bit longer. Good. Super easy. Obviously, being able to have curves, those extra having the splines for your camera movement, that's going to be something that we will have to get at some point, but it's not necessary yet because everything looks really good. You need to give Unreal Engine 5 a try. I did, and I hate it because it's absolutely overcomplicated at points where it just doesn't need to be. Okay, then we can add another frame. So from this frame, we're going to jump here. So it's basically going to allow us to build all of the animation we want. So now with all of that out of the way, we're going to be able to play our animation, set it up from point A to point B. Going back, I messed it up. The order is incorrect, so we're just going to take a couple of L's here, and we're going to add one, insert camera. We're going to insert... What? Wait a second. No, those are my cameras. So for a second, I thought that it's going to be the way, a little bit different way. Okay, now it works the way I want it. So now, how do we set up our Vantage to render something for us? Because this is also something that a lot of you will probably be interested in. So the rendering is just the easiest. We click on the teapot, which really is resembling the icon from 3ds Max. Now we've got the camera and we select all the settings. So select the camera, which one you want. If you want to do a still shot, you can do a render queue in this setup. So it's super cool because you don't need to find some magical batch render in 3ds Max, set it up, have a lot of problems. No, you've got it here. It's easy. This is what you do to render. You add your render, you add your render, you add your render. Super easy, and all of those are queued already. So the simplest, double click to delete. We can also render the sequences. So original scene, no, perspective, motion blur, exposure, settings for the resolution or any other settings. And now we're going to be able to set the samples. Samples are typically going to really mean quality. So you can see that with different settings, we're going to get different samples. We're not getting different samples for some reason. But what I've heard is 64 samples is a good sweet spot for fast rendering. But I'm going to keep the custom and light cache, keep this desktop responsive. This is also cool because you're actually going to be able to work with your computer at the time. The noiser, obviously, we can use the Intel image noise and NVIDIA. Only final pass, reduce flickering, nothing that you would be like thinking about. It's just straight off the bat working. Okay, so FPS, so frames per second. So this is actually something that you have to set up. We're going to be setting up 30 frames per second because that's how we work. Now, the length and duration of the animation is already preset by our this sequence that we built in here. So that's going to be one thing. And now all we want is the format that we want to save our file in. For some reason, you have to select it here, which is okay. Now we're going to be going for image plus MP4 or just MP4. I would strongly advise you to go for image and MP4 because it's a cool way of actually getting your hands on the software, on the quality. So again, I've pre-rendered a couple of previous versions of this interior because I was testing the software, and each time it took me approximately 5 minutes to render this short animation. Maybe not this one because this doesn't work. Please play. Could you please play? Okay. I think my computer is getting slightly overwhelmed with rendering on all of the software, but let's try it again. Okay, so I would say it actually is amazing. It's clean and good. So here you can see that the background is totally burned out, right? So the problem is that at the moment when I was preparing the scene, I didn't know that I'm not going to be able to adjust any of the settings. So just like a normal human, I've added a background on the picture outside the window, and it was self-illuminated set to 1. Self-illumination 1 is very powerful when exported to Vantage, and that is why my window is all burned out. I would have to go for exposure -5 to actually get any kind of visible reactions. The thing is that you're also going to be able to quickly change the resolution to render in different formats. So that's super cool. I wish there would be talking about the modern audience, right? So I wish that there would be some sort of easier or let's say quicker way of seeing your scene in two versions. I mean, two versions is, well, not exactly the way to put it, but if we go to custom, we can also see that they because of the formats that they have here, they haven't thought about the modern audience, which is pretty much your typical YouTube or typical Instagram Reels. They're not yet in that mindset, so they need to add more formats to quickly change your scene. But again, it's that easy. Now I can save the scene and it saves with the camera settings, so I don't need to change any kind of weird settings for the object itself, and I can go back to the previous settings with just a double click. So that's actually something I love. Super. I love this software. I'm going to be using it. Definitely for super quality, Corona takes the first place in my heart still, but Vantage, let's take advantage. Any questions, guys? Because I'm talking a lot about Vantage, and I would like to have a conversation about it with you. Would you like me to test something or show you something exactly? Only two things you may want to consider when buying a new GPU are the size of your PC case, because yes, your power supply unit. Yes, that's exactly it. So I should have mentioned it. So Theodore, you have the right point, and that's exactly what you should be doing. So power supply might not be able to take your GPU in. I just literally had this situation with my computer, so that's actually something to be aware of. And let's see the chat on YouTube. You may show us a longer animation if you render it first. You may be able to show us a longer animation if you render it first. Well, yeah, but I will need to render it first, and I don't want you to wait for the animation to render for like 10 minutes here with me. Vira and Corona are more hyper realistic than Vantage. Yes, Jose. So that's definitely the right way to put it. Corona and V-Ray are more realistic. They go for higher fidelity, but at the same time, I cannot say that Vantage is by any means unrealistic. It has a bit different settings. It looks a little bit different, but it's not that bad. Oh, one thing that I forgot to tell you is that you can also set different moods and intensity for different elements in your scene off the bat. So that's basically the easiest software ever for anything you're going to be setting up. So that's super cool. The sun setup is, well, I would say weird for me, because you absolutely have to set it up manually at the right angle, and it's treated as a light, so you have to just angle it, and you've got the setting. Actually, I should be setting this up as first. So I haven't yet figured out, and I'm going to be absolutely honest, the way of how to use your Vantage to animate elements in it. I don't know if it's even possible to create keyframes for your objects, but maybe I'm going to be able to do it at some point. But definitely, this is not yet in my, let's say, Vantage vocabulary. Let's call it that way. So, sun works good. What else do we need? Enable fog. That's a cool feature, because we can just add the fog and it looks like a fog. It adds a nice moire in your scene. We've got 3 presets for scattering fog, and again, quick, easy, beautiful. We just need to work with the right distance, and if you set it up correctly, you're going to get the right result that you basically wanted. So again, it's beautiful, easy, and just so nice. Okay, can I use it in SketchUp? Yes, and Pavanji, you can actually do that, and this is going to be the best thing, because in as SketchUp, the live link is already working. So you're definitely going to be able to have a lot more fun with it there. Wind is just an object, a vegetation mover, so nothing we can do here. Clouds, we cannot see it because of my background. Sound, we already worked with it. Ambient settings, that's cool, but very unrealistic setting to just give your scene more light in the ambience of the light really. So that's good for night shots to just not lose quality inside. So that's it. If you add more fog, it will look like London. Like London yesterday, you mean. So that's really cool. And what else do we have here? Okay, I need to give Unreal try. Unreal is a bit overqualified for ArcViz, I think. Don't get me wrong, the software is awesome, but the learning curve is way longer, and solutions like Vantage work really well in my humble opinion. So Teban Villa, that's exactly what I think, because honestly, I just want to be a creative artist. I want to have some fun. I want to create pretty pictures. I want to be able to see what I'm doing fast and easy. Fast and easy is important for a lot of ArcViz artists because, well, that's what we need to do. We need to deliver something to our client as fast as possible and be able to do redos or just changes on the fly. So, well, not being able to do that is going to be extremely annoying because, well, it's just not the way we are used to work with other software that we use. So it's definitely going to be something to consider. But in Unreal itself, you absolutely have to spend a week just to set up two materials. You can set up beautiful presets later, but, well, it's not going to be that good really because, well, you have to spend 3 hours to set up 5 minutes of render. So here you're going to be spending 5 minutes for 5 minutes of render. So that's really going to be a groundbreaking type of software, and I really mean it because I fell in love. For the next time, I've absolutely fell in love with this software. So I'm going to be using it a lot because it's good. So let's test the clipping. So let's add some clipping to this camera. 2 meters. Okay, and now we can just see the full view of this interior. The light is going to, the ambience is good for this kind of situations. You can see that this is too dark for our scene to work with. So if I'm going to go lower, we're going to be able to go for ambient. Okay, that's something. So the fog is probably reacting to it poorly. Nope, it's just the ambient. Ambient doesn't work with clipping. Or did I move my camera again? What's going on? No, it's just that it was weird. For some reason it didn't work. Okay, so we're going to just leave it be. But interactive walkthrough is awesome in Unreal Engine. I mean, yeah, but once we get to your scene being done, it's just the same. Please remember that if I would be playing around with this type of setup in Unreal, it wouldn't be faster. It wouldn't be that much better because it's also going to progressively render stuff. So Vantage is pretty much the same, but I will give you that. It is a little bit slower than compared to your typical Unreal Engine rendering, but would it be that much worse? I don't think so. Okay, so Control Z, lol. That's why I did that. What do you mean by streaming to a browser? Honestly, Theodore, help me. Is this the NDA part? Because that's something that I'm not sure if I can talk about at this point. But interactive walkthrough is awesome. Live link makes all the difference, to be honest. Yeah, and honestly, once the live link is here, my God, this is going to be good. Look at that! I actually love the quality. I can see that a lot of textures, especially those that use tree planner on the walls, are not here, and I accept that at the moment, but it's just easy to set up. I love it. So the changes are interactive, it's fast, you just need to have some kind of presets and you're good to go. So that's amazing, that what you can do in seconds in Vantage. Yeah, I love it. Guys, I think we're going to be ending here because I'm just messing up this scene even further than I needed to, and there's not a lot of questions coming in. Mike, if you love it, I love it with the live link, you will become obsessed once you use it with the live link. No more sleep for you. Honestly, I have this very big problem with my brain where once I start playing around with 3D, I can spend hours on it. And I honestly did. Instead of playing video games, I used to render stuff. I used to model stuff in 3ds Max. So this is going to, for me now, this is going to be me going back to those roots where I started and had a little bit of fun, because my God, I am waiting for this type of I was waiting for this level of interactivity. Someday streaming to a browser would be eventually part of the Chaos Cloud, I think. So okay, now if Theodore says that, I'm going to we're both in trouble. So now I can actually just tell you that yes, at some point Chaos Cloud is going to be used as a service to help you streamline your workflow. Chaos Cloud is, this year, it's becoming an actual service that's going to be good, because Chaos Cloud so far for me was just a fancy render farm that I never used. But now, once it's going to have new features that are coming, and I actually don't know what I cannot say. One of them is going to be browser streaming, which is really fantastic. I don't remember exactly the details about pricing because I didn't get the info out of them yet. All I got is that it's not going to be wallet breaking. So that's going to be really good. When is the next update coming up? So that's something that I never asked about, but you can check the forums. As for Corona, we probably should be expecting it around, well, definitely before December. So Corona 13 is going to be out in like 2 months, because they're doing a lot. If you visit the forums, they've already just listed this long list of bugs they fixed. So this is something that's really going to be cool. By the way, try out the cloud. I started using it on my last project. It's great for the communication between collaborations and clients. Yeah, actually, Chaos Cloud, as I said, it's becoming a full-fledged service that works. Also, it does or will work with 360 renderings, so you will be able to design your own 360 walkthroughs inside of your Chaos Cloud. So you're basically going to be generating something that's going to be just awesome right off the bat. I need to pay for Corona Vantage. Unreal Engine, Twinmotion are free. Twinmotion is not free unless you're sailing the seas, because it's actually a paid software for studios and companies. Also, Unreal Engine is free-ish, because if you're going to earn enough, you're going to pay, let's say, percentage of your earnings. So it's free as long as you're small. So that's definitely it. So Twinmotion pricing, pricing and licensing. So you can use Twinmotion for the educational purposes for free, but it's, oh my God, why it's, yeah, I moved to Poland for a while, but nope, that's not it. If you're going to be using those two commercially, that's definitely at the price point higher than Vantage. Sorry for not displaying it in British pounds, but I'm not using VPN streaming and rendering at the same time, because that would kill my my stream right now. Definitely, guys, try Chaos Cloud. That's something you won't regret. So basically lovely. 5% of $1 million. So yeah, 5% of that's a lot. So I wish you to be as successful. To be successful enough that you don't need to pay 5% of your earnings. I know that for a lot of people that really means free for a lifetime, but as soon as you're going to be successful, you're going to really cry. So no, that's not it. Plus, if you're working in 3ds Max, that's one thing that I should have mentioned before. Once we have a live link, this is going to be absolute banger, because if you're going to be working with other engines like Udemy, I forgot what the name of the engine is, because I just don't use it, but I just know that they have now an awful subscription method. But Unreal Engine and that second thing that nobody uses now, plus other engines, will have one big problem. Once you create an asset in 3ds Max, you have to optimize it just for that one rendering engine. It's going to be used in that project, and there's a very low chance that you're going to be able to reuse it in other projects if you're going to be working with teams that work with V-Ray, Corona, and Vantage plus Unreal. The Unreal Engine is always going to be at the losing side, because now, thanks to the fact that we can work with one ecosystem, we're basically getting the best possible outcome. How come? It's just that we're getting the same assets right off the bat, using them as they are without major changes, and we can reuse them, repurpose. That's really going to be super good, because it saves you a ton of time. Unreal Engine and Twinmotion are actually expensive. Epic changed the system. If you make more than 1 million, you have to pay. Even small companies make more than that. Unity, yes, that's it. So even small companies make more than that. And don't mistake the make money, because what you earn is one thing. What level of money you move in a company is a different thing. Because if I had no expenses, no taxation, nothing that would be related to running a company, then I would be a very wealthy person. But because of that, because of the taxation, because of software licensing, because of all of that, I also have to be working, and I'm not as wealthy as I would like to be. But on paper, if I would say that my company, let's say, goes over this and that amount of money, dude, I'm loaded. But the reality is that I have to pay my employees, I have to pay for this license, I have to pay for the offices, I have to pay for everything, and I just have a better than regular salary, but it's still a salary, not some kind of maximum of wealth. It's not that easy. So my company would eventually also get to a point where you're going to be paying for Unreal Engine. So that's not sustainable for a company like mine. If you think Unreal expensive, try 5D render. Okay, so let's try 5D render. 5D pricing. Okay, pricing. Let's see. So that's actually not expensive. Yearly, okay, that's good. Okay, I would say that that wasn't that painful. I thought that you're going to say that it's, oh yeah, you just said that it's 360 USD per year. So pretty much very close to other software. So we're back to square one. Vantage is not that much expensive. It's at the same price point, and you are in the same ecosystem, so I would say that it's a plus. I guess, guys, our webinar is not progressing any further because we went through all the Vantage that I know of, and honestly, I am super glad about this software. So definitely, I'm going to be trying to slowly add it to my small suite of software that I'm using. If your company generates over 1 million in a year, Unreal Engine is per year per seat, and that would hurt a lot because that would be a lot. So imagine that you've got to earn that amount of money, you're going to have like 7 or 8 people at least, and everybody is going to be paying that. No, thank you, Felipe. I am not into that. Guys, I think this is it. I hope that you like Chaos Vantage. I am surely going to be using it. Remember that everything that you were taught here is just my opinion on the software. I love it, so you pretty much can use it as much as you want. Now, if you are interested in us as a school, we also run a training that's now going to be almost 6 weeks long. We're going to be making some changes into our course structure. New videos, new stuff is going to be added in. So if you want to join us, there are still available dates for the September. So join us. That's going to be something that you're not going to regret. And obviously, this is it for today. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all the nice things that you can for us to give us a little bit of a boost in our comments and in our potential visibility on all platforms. One last time, remember that if you want to become my student and be part of Vizacademy community, you can do so by signing up at Vizacademy.co.uk. And hey, Polska rządzi. That's exactly it, Time Prophet. So once again, thank you and see you next time. Lovely webinar, and see you soon in a couple of days. Oh, by the way, this Thursday, we're going to have a special webinar because it's going to be a closed door webinar. So you have to actually sign up to it. So be on the lookout on our social media. That's a very super special one. Hush hush, but also you want to join it. Thank you once again, and see you around. Thank you, Theodore. Thank you, everybody who joined in. Thank you, everybody. I cannot name you, all of you, but well, I will try it some other time. So really appreciate you guys coming, and bye-bye.